You'll hear the service anyway. There's room
You
around.
guys come on over here. Simon.
COVID, I can't make her drink. She's got the vaccine.
Yeah, I know. אשרי האיש אשר לא הלך בעצת רשעים ובדרך חטאים לא עמד ומושב לציר לא ישב כי בתורת אדוני חפצו ובתורתו יהגה יומם ולילה. והקץ שתולת פלגי מים אשר פיו ייתן בעיתו ועלהו לא יבול וכל אשר יעשה יצליח. לא כן הרשעים כמקמוץ אשר תדפנו רוח על כן לא יקומו רשעים במשפט וחטאים בעדת צדיקים כי יודע אדוני דרך צדיקים ודרך רשעים טובת. מזמור לדוד. אדוני מי יגור באוהליך מי ישכון בהר קודשך. הולך תמים ופועל צדק ודובר אמת בלבבו. לא רגל על לשונו, לא עשה לרעהו רעה וחרפה לא נשא על קרובו. נבזה בעיניו נמאס ותראה אדוני נכבד. נשבע להרע ולא ימיר, כספו לא נתן בנשך ושוחד על נקי לא לקח. עושה אלה לא ימות לעולם. מזמור לדוד. אדוני רואי לא יחסר בינו דשא ירביצני. עמי מנוחות ינעלני. נפשי ישובב ינחני במעגלי צדק למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא המוות לא ירא רע כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי. נשענת בשמן ראשי כוסי רוויה. אך טוב החסד הודפוני כל ימי חיי ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. I will ask Semi, the grandson, to come and to read chapter 23 from the book of Psalms. He's doing in our synagogue a very good job every Shabbat, and I'm sure he will do it now too.
A song of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack. God causes me to lie down in lush pastures. God leads me beside tranquil waters. God restores my soul and guides me in righteous paths for God's name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadows of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, your scepter and staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in full view of my adversaries. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of life. And I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for the length of my days.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to offer my condolences to Caroline Cohen, Jacob and Rivka Claypool, Jacob and Rebecca Cohen, and Rachel and Joel Eiser, to the sister Joan and Steve Eisenberg, to the brother Mike and Nita Cohen, and to the sister Barbara and Bob Anderson. And I was thinking to speak about Marty Cohen. I didn't know where to start. A person who is full of action, of accomplishment, a zest to life, enjoyment of life, energy, unlimited energy, and unreal heart. He had a heart big as the world, ready to help any human being. And to speak about all of this, and while it's cold outside, and everybody is freezing, that would be too much. And especially the biggest problem, then I know that Marty never spoke about himself, and never want anybody to talk about him. And when anybody wanted to give him an honoree, to honor him for something, he used to say every time, give it to somebody who needs it. I'm okay, I don't need it. He didn't want any recognition. And as Jared Miller told me, he was involved with the building of the Mandel, the renovation that was such a huge job. Jared told me he saved the school hundreds of thousands of dollars, and he did it with a full heart. And he knew what he was doing. He knew how to build a building, and he said without him he wouldn't survive. He wouldn't make it. But nobody knew about it. He didn't want to speak about it. And he actually gave him an award, but he surprised them. If he would know he's going to get an award, he would never show up to this event. And not only there, I remember when he used to come to services, If he to offer him aliyas, he said, "No, I don't need it. Don't, thank you." He almost told me, "If you want me to continue to come here, you better don't offer me any anoris, any aliyas. I don't need it. I don't want it. Give it to other people who need it, who love it. I don't need it." Then when you want to describe a person, the best way is to go to his name, his Jewish name. Because Kabbalah believes that the name of a person is given by his parents. It's a prophecy that was put in the parents' mind. His parents really had a good prophecy. His Hebrew name is Moshe and David, Moses and David. The common denominator about these two people, that both of them were leaders of the Jewish people. But the real common denominator, that both of them, before they became leaders of the Jewish people, they were shepherds. And they were shepherds to sheep. And God tested them how they treat the animals. And they were so nice to the animals. As the Medrash describes, that animals, the little animals used to give them raw, the grass is softer. And all the animals who lost the teeth, he gave them all. He cared for Moses and David, both of them cared for every animal separately. That was Marty. He was a shepherd. He built a house around the dining room. He built the dining room, then he built the house around it. And all the purpose was to have a seder, to have a seder of 50, 60 people. Shabbat, 30, 40, 50 people. Always wanted to have more people, and that was the highlight of his life, to share it with others. And I met, over the years, I met so many people. Tell me, "Oh, I know Marty." I said, "How you know Marty?" He says, "What do you mean? I was in his house for a Seder, for Shabbos, for this." And he invited everybody. He didn't invite only his friends, only people that he feels, that he thinks they're cool or so on. Everyone was welcomed in his house. You know, yesterday I heard that he grew up he was born in Brooklyn. I think he learned in Brooklyn the Hasidic rabbis. He became a Hasidic rabbi. He had a whole following in Cleveland. Everybody knows him, everybody comes to his house. Shabbat was his main thing. His most important, is the highlight of his day. And you know, these things you don't do without a partner in life. You don't invite 60 people to your house if your wife doesn't want to. Or even if she wants to, she's not ready to do everything. Caroline, she was a real partner, a soulmate in life. And she made it happen. To run such a house, it's so much work that was unbelievable. You know, he lived to be 69 years. In February, he would be 70. Every decade represents a day of the week. The previous Lubavitcher Rebbe said once, when he turned, he was almost 70, it's my Shabbos years. His last 10 years was his Shabbos, the most beloved day of the week of your father. That was his highlight of the week, when he said his children and his grandchildren sitting around the table, singing and sharing words of Torah that they learned in the day school. That was his life. And he almost reached 70. Almost. You know why he didn't? Because he wants you guys to continue. But talking about a soulmate, they were married for almost 50 years. In August it's going to be 50 years. Marty passed away on Caroline's birthday. And if you were talking about a soulmate, they're two connected, the souls are one. Now, I believe it was from God, because Marty didn't want you should come together as a family just to mourn his loss. He wanted that you put together with a birthday. He wanted you should always honor your father and mother together. Should always be one. Whenever you get together for the yahrzeit, you get together for a birthday, and it's not just a day of sadness, it'll be a day of joy and happiness. In the parsha of this week, we read about Vaychi, we finishing the book of Genesis. We read about the passing of Jacob. He said goodbye to all his children, and then he lay down on the bed and he expired. Then the commentaries right away, the Talmud is asking why it's not written the word and he died. By Abraham it's written he died. By Isaac it's written he died. By him it's written expired. The word death is not written. The Talmud answered, Jacob never died. Then another rabbi is asking, what do you mean he never died? It was a funeral, it was a burial. They embalmed them, the Egyptian, before they buried them. What do you mean he never died? The Talmud says something amazing. As long as the children of Jacob continue his legacy, he is alive. As long as they are alive, he is alive. Marty created an amazing family. Children, grandchildren. He was very proud that his grandchildren are going to day school. And that was his life, and he was so excited how they embraced their Judaism. As long as the children and grandchildren will continue his legacy, as long as it's going to be Friday night dinners in your house, Carolyn, as long as it's going to be a Seder, as long as you continue to be as Jewish as your grandfather was, he is alive. And now I want to invite somebody who was very close to Marty, his personal rabbi from Florida, Rabbi Lobkovsky, Yossi Lobkovsky. He was very close with me. He knew Marty much before I met him. And Marty was a man who needed a rabbi in Florida and a rabbi everywhere where he's going. But his personal rabbi that he spoke so highly about him so many times, and we're going to hear from him some word, but I don't want to miss this thing. As many times I spoke about it with your father. But he had so much nachas from the children and from the grandchildren. He was so proud of you. And he said it again and again and again. He was so excited. Whenever I mentioned the kids, his face was lighting up. And I just don't want to miss, you should know how much your father was proud of you. Please, Rabbi Lobkovsky.
Now I understand why Marty and Caroline moved to Florida for the winter. Marty was a very smart man, very clever. Used to read many, many books. We used to spend hours at the Shabbos dinner when he came to my house discussing about Torah, about God, about his children, his grandchildren. This went on for hours. And Caroline used to tell him, I think the rabbi wants to go to sleep. But that didn't help. So she said, I think I want to go to sleep. It was so insightful, those conversations. I learned so much from Marty. There's no coincidence that Marty passed away in the week that we read Vayechi, like Rabbi Greenberg mentioned. It said, the parsha starts off, Vayechi Yaakov ve'eretz Mitzrayim shva'as reshana. That Yaakov lived in Egypt 17 years. He lived. So the commentators asked, what do you mean he lived in Egypt? He passed away in Egypt. But they say the best years of his life were in Egypt. How about in Israel? He didn't have a good time. And the answer is given because he set up, before he went to Egypt, he set up a place for students to study. His children, his grandchildren studied Torah. And to see the nachas, to see the Jewish pride that they're going in his ways, they follow in his direction. They're continuing to learn, they're continuing the tradition. That's what gave him the most life. That's what Marty stood for as well, like Gurmik mentioned before. Every time I saw him, every time we spoke, constantly about his grandchildren, how much love and how much pride he had from his grandchildren. He came to shul just to hear his grandchild daven. Everything about the grandchildren. He had so much pride that they come every week and say a Dvar Torah by the Shabbos table. They sing Shalom Aleichem. Everything that they did was for him a life. That's what he spoke about. Mainly about his children and his grandchildren. And that's why he dedicated his life to build Jewish future. He was so involved with the Jewish day school here. He was involved with our mikveh in Florida. He wanted a place, he wanted it to establish a Jewish life. He said his best song was, what is it? I'm a Jew and I'm proud. I'm a proud Jew. That's what he loved. That's what he wanted instilled in his children and his grandchildren. I took him a year ago. We went to the Chabad conference. He was so proud to be part of a network, to dedicate, to give, to be part of a network that spreads Judaism, that connects with God. That's what he lived for. And that's what he wants his children and his grandchildren to live for. And that's what Carol Ann lives for. Carol Ann is right there by his side. I could go on, but it's really cold. I just say that when you continue your Shabbos meals and your seders with his Manischewitz wine, he'll be there. I'm telling you, he'll drink his Manischewitz. He'll be there on happy occasions. He'll be there every time the children gain. He'll be there. He'll be there and cheer you guys on. And the more he lives in you, the more he lives. And let's hope at the coming of Mashiach, we won't have to. He'll be resurrected. We'll have him here speedily.
And now we'll invite the kids, and you decide the order, and who is going to speak. Jacob.
Dad, the saying goes, may his memory be a blessing. This will certainly be true with you. It's just so hard to transform you in my head from the man of action, the doer, the maker, the builder, into the passive. This past week, the toughest of my life, when I was experiencing great pain at the prospect of losing you, I couldn't help but feel an even greater sense of immense gratitude to you and to God for giving you to me and to all of us for as much time as he deemed fit. No remorse, no regrets. All I could do, besides cry, was look at you and say thank you. As I reflected on what made you such a great man, I came to realize it is that you gave of yourself completely, more than anyone I will ever know. For most of your life, time and money were scarce, but that never stopped you from giving more than you had of either. Your energy and effort and attention to detail for the task at hand was limitless. Your competence was unmatched. These attributes, along with a deep and tender love, thinly covered by toughness, that you felt for your family, friends, and community, is how you brought such great light to the world. Professionally, no one worked harder than you, and you were elite at whatever you did. But you did it all so you can give your wife and your family everything they ever needed. This will always define you. Unfortunately for us, it is appropriate that you died when you were still completely relevant, completely dependent upon, completely useful to everyone, and not reliant on anyone for anything except for the love of your family and friends. This is how you will be remembered. To your wife, the love of your life, whom you met as a child in high school, you became absolutely everything to each other. You became somewhat of a romantic these past years, and it's been heartwarming for us to see. But we know that isn't how it always has been. Young, independent, no savings, no help, you two created a life together. You sacrificed, you scraped, you saved, you relied on each other, depended on each other, trusted each other, loved each other, and built a wonderful family together. You taught me what real love is. It's the fight together. It's the achieving together. It's the building together. It's being together. Mom, I know you both loved each other completely. And Dad was the strongest man you ever met. But God chose him to die before you because I don't think that Dad could have lived without you. Dad and God know that you will be strong enough to live for the family you built together and to honor his memory. Dad, your relationship with Mom is the most valuable lesson you taught me. I remember as a child waiting for you to come home, late from work, the sound of the garage door, and running to hug you the second you entered the house. You'd then walk to the kitchen and before even taking off your coat, give Mom a long hug and a kiss. Mom, you had been taking care of us and keeping the house completely by yourself. You taught me what marriage is. Dad, you made it very clear to Mom and to me that your partnership was equal, that your success professionally was only possible with Mom's effort at home. I now live this partnership and my family knows it. You taught me how to be a husband. Dad, to me, you're the absolute ideal of what a man is, what a father is, and what a friend is. I will never be as good at being any of them as you, but I will live the rest of my life trying. As a man, you were strong. You were the protector. You were the provider. As a father, you nurtured me and taught me. You always made me feel so important and loved. Despite everything else, you always had time for me. As a child, you would only go to a football game if there was a ticket for me too. As a teenager, you would patiently and calmly help me cram for a test until 2 or 3 in the morning. And even last month, you came over for a couple hours, 2 days in a row, to help me fix a file cabinet. You were always there for me. Along with Mom's equal love and support, you completely made me who I am. All of it. My sense of self, my confidence, my caring is all from you. You never had a social life until recently. There was work and there was family, and especially now I am so thankful I never had to share you. Dad, and to your friends, you were somehow just as loyal and giving. You were always looking to help your friends. My whole life, anytime I met one of your friends, or even a colleague or acquaintance, they would tell me how great and giving you are. You never took anything from anyone. You hated it. And if my dad did take a favor from you, it could only mean that you were dearly close to him and that he loved you with all his heart. I conclude with one word: gratitude. For your sake, Dad, you lived a complete life of purpose and love, without regret. And your legacy, your family, is your masterpiece. If you lived twice as long as less of a man, it would have been a tragedy. We talked often of life and death. You were never afraid of death because of how you lived your life. You brought light to this world, and that light will live on. Gratitude from me. Thank you, Dad, for all of it. I am so blessed to have you so close to me every moment of my 44 years. I cherish all of it. We absolutely understood how much we meant to each other and respected each other. I am eternally grateful for that. I will live the rest of my life. I will live the rest of my life honoring you by emulating you. I will work harder, love deeper, and give more to my family, friends, and community. Dad, everyone always tells me how proud of me you are, but it never matched the pride I have always felt for my hero, my dad. And gratitude to God for giving you to me. I love you, Dad.
Is anybody else talking?
My dad was the best man I have ever known. He was the smartest, the most generous, the most protective, the hardest working, the strongest man who could do anything he set out to do. He always made everything okay. He made me feel safe, and he could always fix or figure out any situation. I always knew that he would be able to make everything all right. He always knew what to do. He guided me even when I didn't want to listen, but he was always right. He stepped in and did what was best for me, even when it was hard and not the easiest thing to say. Several times, he had to sit me down and point me in the right direction, even though I was stubborn and I didn't want to hear it at the time. Sometimes after he told me something I didn't like, he would explain that it was because he loved me and he cared about me, and I needed to hear it, and that it was better to come from family. And he was right. My life is so much better because he felt it was his responsibility to always be there for me and be an active part in my life. Thank you, Dad. He was also able to give me perspective. I would come to him with whatever problem I was having, and his response would be, wait, are your children healthy? Do you have your health? And the rest is small. You need to remember what's important. And whenever he put it that way, my problems always seemed much smaller, and I was able to truly feel grateful for what I had. My dad and my mom were a true team. They balanced each other out so well and made sure we always had what we needed, and a home where we and our children were always welcomed and felt loved. One time when I was a teenager, I complained about my mom to him, and my dad got so mad. It was then that I began to understand how strong his love was for you, Mom, and how strong your relationship was just beyond being my parents, because he loved you so much. My dad was a true patriarch, and he held the family together. We always spent holidays and Shabbat together. No matter what else was going on, he would never let an event, a game, work, or anything interfere. He was always true to his word, and he always followed through. He always made us believe in ourselves and encourage us to do our very best. My dad is the reason I moved back to Cleveland with my children, and that we were able to enjoy so much wonderful time with family and with each other, and that we were able really to get to know him and how lucky we were to have him. Family was always first. Everything he did was for us, for his family. He worked very hard, but was always able to stop when it was time to have time with us. When I was little, I said it was like a switch he would turn on and off. And when he was with us, he was present. He was present for us, and he was present for his grandchildren. He fiercely loved his grandchildren and made sure they always felt his love and attention. He was always at their meets, at their games, at their plays, and their programs, and he was so proud of them. They always stopped what he was doing to be with them. I'm grateful they got to know him, but I'm so devastated that he won't be able to see them grow up, and they won't have them in their life anymore. Dad, I love you so much. I'm having a really hard time imagining a world without you in it. But I also recognize how incredibly lucky I am to be your daughter. I will miss discussing math and engineering and concrete with you. I will miss you always being there for me. I will miss you making me feel like someone worth being proud of. I will miss discussing politics with you. I will miss your great sense of humor. I will miss the ever-present reminder of how much you loved me and my children. I will miss being able to turn to you for advice, and perspective, and insight. I will miss how you stepped in to be a role model for my children. I will miss how proud you were of your grandchildren. I will miss your recommended reading and recommended movies. I will miss your joy of life, and I will miss you at Shabbat dinner. I will miss you. Miss you. I love you, Dad. Love you so much.
everything you both said is like, I couldn't say it better. It's all felt probably, certainly by me, and I'm guessing all of you. And surprisingly, for once, I have less to say than everyone else. I guess I went the route of, my dad taught me how to brief a case, and I went that route to make it brief. In elementary school, I was assigned to write about my hero. Unlike other students, I wrote about two people with one soul. Each half of that soul found each other in high school. My parents have always been the best team I can imagine, and my hero. With my mom by his side, my dad was larger than life. He was the greatest man, father, husband, son, brother, grandfather, and friend. I've known this for a long time, but it still amazed me over the last few days. All the messages, calls, so many different ways people have reached out and saying how wonderful he was. From people who met him once, people who knew him well, and everything in between. He lived for all of us. He always worked to better himself, others, and the world. I cannot make sense of any of this. He said for a while that he's lived a full life, and that always scared me every time he said it. Because I'm not done. I wasn't done. It's the rest of us who needed and need him. He was always felt he had done it. And we want more of his love and wisdom and insight, experience, humor, patience, leadership, guidance, friendship, and everything else he offers. God works in mysterious ways. The only comfort I can give myself is that with my dad being who he is, God thought that he was bigger than this world and has a new project in mind for him. I keep expecting him to just walk through the door. I see him everywhere. I turn that chair, this chair, standing by something. My dad will always be with us, though. We will continue to tell his stories. He is a legend. He will be at all our occasions and with us every day, because he will be watching, and he is in all of us. He made an impression on everyone he encountered. I see him in my children, and I see him in others. I miss you, Dad. I love you. I will always love you and be thankful for the time that God gave me and all of us with you. I love you, Dad. Always.
גם שלו, statement, who is coming up? Okay. Okay.
We'll have a lot of time for stories. Many years. So.
Go ahead. What?
It's okay. We can talk about it. We're going to talk about him a lot. We're going to keep talking about it. You can say it later.
Please rise for the memorial service.
What was it about? It's okay. You'll tell us what you want to say. You tell us at home, honey. It's okay.
El Malei Rachamim, Shoichein Meroimim, Hamtzei Menucha Nechaina, Al Kanfei Ashchina, B'Ma'alois, HaKadoshim Utoirim, Kizoyar Orakiam Azirin, Es Nishmas, Moshe David ben Mordechai Shalach Loilamoy Bavur Shenadvu Tzaka Badaskaras Nishmasoi Vigan Eden Tehei Menuchasoi Lochein Bal Harachamim Yastirehu V'Seisar Knafav Leoilamim V'Yitzroir Rachayim Es Nishmasoi Adinoi Hu Nachalasoi Yanuach al mishkavai v'shalom v'noimar amen.
God, full of compassion, who dwells and I, grant proper repose and the sheltering wings of your presence in the lofty level of the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament, and to the soul of Moshe David ben Mordechai, who has gone to his world, and for his memory we pray. May his repose be in paradise. May the Master of Compassion bring him under the cover of God's wing and bind his soul in the bound of life. May the Lord be his heritage and may he repose on his resting place in peace. And let us respond, Amen. We are now going to do the burial.
big rock. No, not the big rock.
To take a part in the shoveling and invite the family and then everybody else comes to do it. Job.
You can go on the other side if you want to for shoveling, either side.
Yeah, come on. You're honoring Grandpa. You do it with Mommy. It's an honor.
Took it right off the board. Watch me. Off the board. Much easier.
We are going now to
Take it
the
over.
side Kaddish.
A real man.
Check it out, John.
Okay. That's good. Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna finish it. Me as well. No, never.
Please get closer.
And we're going to see the Kaddish now.
Rivka? Yeah, then give you a invitation. והתקדש שמי רבה, ועמד יברח חירותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי בכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה לשמי תקודשה בריחוף. לילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה ושבחתה ונחמתה ואמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיא וחיים טובים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. The service is concluded. Please form to an aisle and the mourners will go in between. Can you?
Yeah. So if you want to form facing each other so that the immediate mourners can pass through.
You go through. Okay, for you, you can go behind you. Mungkin aku masuk ke sana. Thank you.